In 1975, Nelson Mandela wrote a personal letter to his wife Winnie Mandela from Chris Hani Prison that has a profound teaching for all of us on how to develop ourselves as human beings. He said that if we are to develop and progress as human beings, we need to turn inward, to develop the inner qualities of honesty, humility, generosity, and readiness to serve others. He recommended that we meditate for 15 minutes every day to overcome the bad and develop whatever is good in us. Mindfulness meditation, now practiced worldwide, has the proven ability to transform the burnout, exhaustion, and stress that we all suffer from. When teachers practice meditation and are able to help grow our children's ability to calm down, to know themselves deeply, from kindergarten right through to university to working life, then we have the potential to transform not only ourselves, but our society for the better.
Mindfulness really transformed my life. I was always in a rush, and I just became so overwhelmed with everything that it affected my physical health. And it was only through mindfulness that I was able to care for myself properly and get back on my feet. But until you're doing mindfulness, you won't slow down.
You can be mindful while you are walking. When you are in class, you can be mindful. Sometimes there's a teacher in front of you, and you know your focus has to be on the teacher, but your mind wanders away. And when you notice that moment, when you notice that your mind has wandered away, and then you bring it back and put your focus back to it, that is mindfulness. You were being mindful that your mind was wandered away, and then you put back your focus.
If you're thinking of two things at the same time, it can drive you crazy. So when you do mindfulness and you're only thinking of that specific thing, it will be very helpful.
When you do mindfulness, when you study, especially when you study, you don't study to remember. You start studying to understand. I got 80% for history, which is something I've never gotten. You don't usually get 7s on my report, so I'm really looking forward to the report for this term. So
they say that through doing mindfulness, they've learned that even in all that noise, they could still be mindful and study.
It's also helped me not to be too worried when we are doing tests and not to start panicking and making all the silly mistakes.
Mindfulness is what a child needs. Daily dosage of mindfulness to be more centered, to be more focused, to be more loving, to be more thoughtful of other people.
In the bus, there's a lot of sounds, noises from people, the shivering of the bus and everything. I use it in that situation or environment as well.
I just wanted to say that when you do mindfulness, you become more focused and you also love yourself. And when you love yourself and you focus, then you invest your time and you do better with what you do things better with your time.
You put your mind to it. That's all it is, really. I mean, if you look at how people succeed in anything in life, people say put your mind to it.
I thought I'd never be able to meditate because I thought you had to cut off your thoughts totally. So mindful meditation makes us aware that you don't. You acknowledge those thoughts and you just let them go.
Nelson Mandela tells us how the prison cell gave him the opportunity to develop himself, to get to know himself by turning inwardly. In his letter, he guides us on how to do this. He says, get to know yourself, your weaknesses and mistakes. Search the processes of your own mind and feelings. Develop serious introspection and meditate regularly, 15 minutes a day. So when we are faced with problems and difficulties, we are able to calm ourselves down, to be honest with ourselves about what's actually going on, to have the courage to be with difficult emotions, and most importantly, to take care of ourselves when we need it most.
The first time I was introduced to mindfulness, it was the same time my mom had passed away. I found that through doing mindfulness, that really helped me cope with my loss. Being aware of my emotions, but also knowing that it's okay. So whatever I was feeling was okay.
It's one, every time you work on yourself, you don't compete with others, because we come from communities and a group of peers. The way we continuously compare ourselves to the next person. We are not taught that we must love ourselves just the way we are. And I feel like the most thing that I've learned from mindfulness is love yourself, and we are able to love other people.
Help you connect to the inner self also, and how you really feeling at that moment also.
For Apolline, a survivor of the war in the DRC, She experienced her mother being brutally raped, her father being taken away, and her grandfather being killed in front of her. But today, she chooses hope and beauty over the cruelty of the world. Mindfulness has helped her to get to know herself and to give her inner strength.
Practicing mindfulness will help you know yourself even more than you think that you knew yourself. Because there's a lot of things that we think that we know ourselves, but the more you practice mindfulness, the more you become aware of who you are in a different way that you never thought that. I never thought I was that person. You know what I mean? Yeah.
And through taking care of yourself, you're more compassionate towards yourself. And ultimately, that compassion extends to others too, because you realize, hey, everyone's going through the same thing.
Because in prison, I could sit down at the end of the day and think, do nothing else but think. And I was able, therefore, to see myself in a different light and to be able to correct the mistakes, at least to have a plan to correct the mistakes we committed in the course of our work.
As Nelson Mandela says, when we take the time to think things through, to connect with ourselves inwardly, to meditate, then we're able to transform ourselves in our situation.
Now I'm able to calm myself. I am able to connect to what I'm doing and do it wisely. I think things through. When I'm going to say something, when I'm doing something, I make sure that I'm mindful about it.
Today, neuroscientists have confirmed what Nelson Mandela was saying, that meditation really does help us to grow and develop as human beings. Scientists have found that it literally grows our brains, and after just 8 weeks of practice, it starts to grow the areas of the brain that relates to our higher functioning and to our sense of happiness.
It's just increased almost every aspect of my life. I find I'm a lot more happier. I am a lot more tolerant.
It gives you a sort of relaxation. Whatever you're going through, when you remember to do mindfulness, it just calms you down.
It is also now taught worldwide at all leading universities and schools, as it greatly improves our capacity for learning. The benefits are endless if we apply it to our lives daily.